Hello, how are you?
Hello, very
Good. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
right. So, Mamadou Seck, I'm an assistant professor of engineering management and systems engineering at Old Dominion University.
Okay. So most of your studies were done in France.
Right, absolutely.
How did that influence your view of what simulation is, if at all? Did it compared to, for example, more of a US or a person from a different background?
Yes, that's a difficult question. I don't know. But the lab in which I was very much influenced by the work of Ziegler. So a lot of the work we did in simulation was in the devs formalism, and similar with other people who came out of the same lab. We've been strongly influenced by the work of Ziegler and Jambiasi.
Do you think if simulation were developed outside of, let's say, the Western part of the world where it's very predominant right now, although we know that the ability to do narratives and tell stories is universal, do you think that simulation would look differently, and how do you think we can expand simulation to become this worldwide thing that it really intuitively is supposed to be?
Right. Yeah, I mean that would be a great initiative if trying to expand simulation. I think the narrative of simulation is very Western centric. When we speak of modeling and simulation, we think in the paradigm of the US mostly and Europe to some extent. If simulation languages were more available in indigenous languages of Africa or Asia or other places, maybe in some years a young African or Asian could come up with a formalism that is much more expressive that we've not thought of yet. So
this really strikes me because in interoperability, here we have a vision of simulations or machines talking to one another and achieving this. In Europe, it's more about enterprises, about people. So I always wonder how it would look like in different places. Things like that we take for granted, how would they have been defined?
Right.
In your mind?
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating question. I think, but it needs to be really profound and come from there. Because otherwise it will be some sort of stereotypical ways of perceiving that. But yeah, I think that's
so in dealing with your students, how do you cultivate in them the love of, obviously your stories, you had the passion for simulation from Professor Norbert. What is the thing that you think we should emphasize to create the love, the same amount of passion that for simulation that obviously you felt originally?
I think there is a book that from Wolfram who's been talking a lot about cellular automata, and he calls that the new kind of science. I think modeling and simulation has this potential to go beyond simply a field of inquiry, but really something more foundational in how we approach research and science and knowledge in general, because it really goes to the depth of representation, how we perceive reality, how change takes place in the world. So, talking with my students, really, I try to be an advocate of modeling and simulation and trying to do it at a deep level, using expressive formalisms and trying to go to the mathematics of it, and
So the love of the basics, the beauty of the simplicity,
exactly,
is what you really.
Absolutely.
That's very fascinating. So one last final question: how did simulation influence you in your growth as a person, as a professional? How did it impact you personally?
Well, I mean, I think simulation has become actually the lens through which I see problem solving. You know, so some people say if you have a hammer, anything looks like a nail. Basically, for me right now, any problem that you come up with, I look at it as a representational and abstraction problem, and hopefully also a simulation problem. So I think the influence has been pervasive.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.